The mirror principle states that reality is like a mirror. It reflects back to you that which how you are, not how reality is. And what this means is if you experience people that maybe are very criticizing of you, you may be judging yourself and be very self-critical of you. If you are experiencing some form of lack of love and you want to attract a relationship, it means there may be some form of belief, some form of thought or emotion, or even self-image that you are connected to that's keeping you from blocking a relationship. Because reality is mirroring back to you that which you believe to be true about yourself. Now, just like if you are looking into a mirror and you were to go over to the mirror and try to change the expression on the mirror, it would be silly to try to actually change the reflection. Yet that's what most people do when it comes to wanting to change their reality. They try to change the expression on the mirror without first changing the expression on their face. And when you learn how to create deep subconscious change on the inside, you will then find that the outer reality naturally begins to shift. Because you're not changing the reflection, you are changing yourself. Now in this video, what I want to do is show you the most powerful shifts in consciousness I've made towards understanding this idea of the mirror principle, how it is a fundamental core of our reality, and how it very beautifully connects to what we understand about a process called Ho'oponopono, and why when you change your energy field, you then change your external reality. So let's first off understand as well that we subconsciously, many times from childhood, are fighting for familiar. So most of the thoughts, the feelings, the beliefs that you have about yourself were created when you were in a theta state of consciousness. So understand there is theta state, there is alpha state, there is beta state. These are three different, the most common brainwave activity states that we have. Now the thing is when we talk about the mirror principle, from 0 to 7 years old, you are predominantly in a theta state. Now, theta state is where you absorb the energy of your environment so effortlessly. It just naturally, you're developing beliefs about reality. You're developing beliefs about how you relate to other people. You're absorbing the quirks and the patterns of your parents, maybe even the positive quirks. This doesn't have to all be negative, but we are seeing the model of reality and internalizing it. This is why when a little kid maybe has parents that divorce, they may think, I caused this. Maybe there's something wrong with me. They may have worthiness issues. Then years later, they're trying to attract love and they're wondering, why can't I attract love? Well, they believe that either relationships may not work out because their parents divorced, or they believe they're a burden, or they believe they're not worthy. But that was created from 0 to 7 years old. So what happens is about 7 or 8 years old, you move from being mainly in theta state into alpha state. Alpha state is a brainwave activity that still has powerful influence over the subconscious mind. You're in a more relaxed state normally until about puberty of about 13 to 15 years old. Then you move into beta state, which is more of the conscious mind, which is much harder to influence the subconscious mind. 90% of what runs your life is what happens from theta and alpha state. So what happens is people then from 15 onwards are in beta state. And if they try to change the reality, it's similar to going over to the mirror and trying to change the reflection. It doesn't work that way. So one thing you want to become aware of when we talk about this mirror of understanding that reality is a mirror is understanding that there is complete responsibility and ownership that you must take for what you think, feel, and act, and what your self-image is, and even the beliefs you have, even if they were given to you. Even if there was a belief that I didn't choose this, Because ultimately, at a subconscious level, you cannot change what you do not own. So when you think about this as well, theta, alpha, beta state, understand that when you go to bed at night, you are shifting from beta to alpha to theta state. When you watch television, you're normally in an alpha state. That's why what you watch, what you perceive of, can influence your subconscious mind. That's why a lot of movies that you like or don't like have certain symbolic metaphors in it that influence the subconscious mind. And when you go to bed at night and you're drifting off to sleep, you have a very powerful window of 30 minutes before bed of really influencing and becoming aware of your predominant beliefs, your predominant thoughts about yourself, emotions. But remember, a lot of times what has become familiar was what was in 0 to 7 years old. We've developed certain survival strategies to keep ourselves safe. But safe may mean blocking out love. If your first primary relationship when you came into this world was pain. So part of breaking out of understanding the mirror principle is that you may have created for yourself a meaning, most people do, that some level of the unknown is scary. So I'd rather stay in the known, even if the known is a toxic dynamic. I remember when my dad divorced my ex-stepmom when I was 16 years old, maybe even 17 years old. I thought I was 15. I always tell the story as if I was 15. But my ex-stepmom left my life, who was controlling and manipulative and like a very angry person. Here's something also, I'll share this. This is something I haven't really shared before. One thing that I recognize is because I had that of an angry ex-stepmom in my life from 7 to 17. She left my life when I was 17. Then I had all this freedom. Yet I kept attracting controlling people into my life, not knowing why. Well, on the inside, I found out later when I went through an awakening in 2012, there was a belief there that people try to control me. I must fight for my freedom. There was a template that this is how women are. And I would attract girlfriends that were like that, or managers that were like that. And interestingly enough, always women, because that was my template. There was trauma there. There was an energy there. And in the mirror principle, we think of it as bad, but what if it's also bringing these things to you so that you can learn the lesson and let it go, and you don't need that mirror reflection anymore? What if you need the mirror reflection because it's helping you to set boundaries? It's helping you to heal and forgive. Now, one thing I recognize is that after I went through a lot of healing and I forgave my ex-stepmom, the manager left my life, I stopped attracting controlling people. However, on the other side of that, what I realized is in the past, I've had a tendency to attract women that have a lot of very loving energy. However, have a lot of sometimes a fear of expressing their own anger. A fear of expressing their own anger. So there was a lot of nice energy. And what I recognize is that that is the opposite of the pain, like you touch a stove and it's hot. Well, that was the ex-stepmom energy that was very painful, very controlling, very manipulative, and very angry. So what is the opposite of that? Oh, I'm attracting people that are very nice, that have a lot of very cool, nice energy, where I can't really ever do anything wrong, or it doesn't spawn up anger. And then I saw that as a reflection for my own energy, of my own ability to tap into my own anger. And what happens is, as I have embraced more and accepted my own anger, I then am able to attract women that have integrated their own anger. Because understand, anger is not bad. The side effect if you don't do that is you attract passive-aggressive people into your life. And what I had to do was look at my own tendencies for that energy, integrate it, feel safe in my own expression of anger, and then ironically enough, I attract women that have more of that integrated inside of themselves, which is good, because sometimes when you're around someone that's just being nice, but you don't really know how they feel, that feels unpredictable. But it was a mere reflection. It was a mere reflection of my energy, of how I could accept that energy within myself. And then as I did that, you then attract something new. Also, I remember when I worked a 9-to-5 job selling women's shoes, what kind of women do you think I dated? I dated women that sold women's shoes. No, I'm just kidding. But I dated one or two that were working kind of like the same department as me for a while. But anytime I worked a 9-to-5 job I didn't like, I attracted women that worked 9-to-5 jobs they didn't like. I wasn't attracting to women that worked 9-to-5 jobs they loved. People that felt trapped in that 9-to-5 job. Then I started doing what I love. Since then, I have only dated women that also do what they love. They don't have the restrictions of a 9-to-5 job they hate. So it's interesting. It's the challenge for many people is looking at themselves and realizing that this trigger is being triggered because there's something about it that you have either not accepted within yourself or that you are judging in the external world, which means if there's a judgment, there is some form of belief about reality that is keeping that active, that is keeping that alive in your life. One of the most common ones for me that I've dealt with in many ways over the years is this belief that life is not fair. Certain aspects aren't fair, and especially in relational dynamics when it comes to authority. Why? Because when I was a kid, things weren't fair. Authoritative ex-stepmom that gets to control everything. I have to fight for my freedom, and it wasn't fair. Now, interestingly enough, whenever I had a manager working in women's shoes back in 2017, things weren't fair. There was corporate politics, just like in childhood. Now, these help me become aware of the mere principle of the understanding that I believe reality is not fair. Then with authority, other things with authority. For example, there have been times when I'm dealing with, I remember I was having a house remodeled. And there was, I bought a house and it needed roof issues after I bought it, 3 months after I bought it. Things that I thought should have been inside the covered by insurance. I had to pay a lot of money for insurance. So I didn't understand why I was paying so much money for insurance. And then I get the roof checked, bought it 3 months ago. And they say, oh, it's not covered because of some little reason. Or like a water heater breaks. And they're like, did you get the water heater checked 3 years ago for like a 6-month like maintenance thing? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Nobody does. Nobody every 6 months has someone come to their house to like sign off on a water heater. But guess what? Stories that evoked inside of me. This isn't fair. Why am I paying insurance? Because this isn't fair. These triggers, these energies. I'm like, wait, there's someone else is telling me what to do, or someone else is telling me, and it felt like this unfair energy. But what I got to do was look at myself and to stand in my own power, because I don't have to keep giving away my power. So I demanded that they fix it. I'm just kidding. That didn't happen. I just accepted. And went through. But what I could tell was happening is in my energetic field, I was getting more and more resistant the more I thought about it. But I realized it was a reflection for how much injustice I felt now, which was a reflection of childhood. So there was acceptance and forgiveness that I had to have. Even realizing that we live in a system where you are required to have an insurance, and then the insurance companies don't want to pay out. So it's just part of it. I can complain about it. I can talk about how it's not fair, but that will just create more unfair energy within my energetic field that attract to me more situations and synchronicities to reflect back that life's not fair. So what I began to do is to realize life is fair. I'm in my power. I'm not giving away my power. So when you think about this and you think of the power of Ho'oponopono, which if you look at the more modern interpretation of it from a man named Dr. Hugh Len, you probably heard me talk about it on my YouTube channel before, but it very beautifully connects with the mere principle. Because what Dr. Hugh Len talks about is he modernized this ancient Hawaiian practice. It's been around for a long time. And they would have traditionally used it to connect families back together that had like grievances and problems with each other. And it's 4 simple statements as I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Now, the power of this is Dr. Hugh Len talks about how, he died actually recently, a couple years ago, but he talks about how 10 to 15 million bits of information are around us at any moment, and we perceive of about 40 bits per second. So what we perceive of in outer reality, it's like there's many versions. There's like a version of reality where things are fair. There's a version of reality where you are magnetic and people are attracted to you. There's a version of reality where there's different versions of people even. What if you are either bringing out of people versions of them that reflect back what's active in your field, or you just attract new people that reflect what's active in your field. But the thing to recognize is taking responsibility is about being aware it's in your field. You've picked up a belief, you've picked up a feeling, you've picked up a thought, and you picked up a self-image. And you're fighting to keep them in familiar territory. Now, one of the things Dr. Hugh Len realized, he was studying this, he went to a mental hospital, and he worked with patients where the energy was not good. High turnover rate. People were leaving this mental hospital to go work other places. It was hard for people to stay working there. Some of the patients, the mentally ill patients, were sedated because they were so violent. Some were secluded in different rooms. And it was just a very bad energy. Dr. Hugh Len goes there, works there for a few years. And what he does is he gets to work with Ho'oponopono. Within 3 years, the whole entire vibe changed. Turnover rate wasn't a problem. Some people would transfer to lesser security mental, in the mental hospital that were mentally insane. There were people that were sedated that didn't have to be sedated anymore when they were having violent outbursts. The whole entire vibe changed. Even some people were transferred back home or were considered mentally sane, the lesser cases. You want to know the crazy thing? He never actually psychoanalyzed them or even talk to some of them. Because what he did is he would look at their files in his office. And what he would do is he would take responsibility and ownership and saying, if I can even perceive of this mentally ill person and this is what this person did, then there's something in me that I can begin to clean. It's called cleaning. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And as he started to take responsibility for it, there was a healing that would happen in these people, in this environment, in this space. And when I first heard about this, that sounded too good to be true, so I did more research on it and found out that what he also did is he walked around. He didn't psychoanalyze people. He didn't look at their childhood trauma and say, this is what you got to do. What he did is he went around and he talked to other people. He said hi. He had a pleasant energy about him. And what I think he would do is he would look at them and he would see them as healed. This is something that's even talked about in the Bible when it comes to Jesus. He didn't see sickness. He saw them as healed. It's like he infused a reality of such a high vibrational magnitude onto other people that his reality, it's like people would be healed because his mere reflection of them was not of sickness. And in a similar way, what if people in your life are reflecting back to you the ways you expect them to be? So taking responsibility that if you are attracting things that say that there's lack, you're getting abundance of lack, by the way, because there's lack inside of your field. There's a belief in scarcity inside of your field. And Ho'oponopono is, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And if you want to learn more about this process, by the way, I have a free course called High Vibe 101. It's a $1,000 course for free inside my free community called High Vibe Tribe. There's a whole section in there that talks more about this, of healing this energy. With that, of breath work that helps you repattern your nervous system for a new version of you. You can check that out. I'll go ahead and link it below. And understand that for this mere principle of understanding this, it's really about getting to the core of what you believe to be true. Some of it maybe have been pried from 0 to 7 years old. There's ways of working with your dreams before you fall asleep I work with dreams in general because they're subconscious reflections of your own psyche, of my own psyche. So the things happening in my life are, I know, a reflection, a symbolic reflection of that. So I'm constantly in tune with what my subconscious is to what I'm experiencing in external reality. Now understand, everything is a reflection. When you look at the microcosm, macrocosm, when you look at the body is the subconscious mind, there are books that show you that every little ailment you have can be connected to a different organ, which is what acupuncture is, and different reflexology. There's ways of connecting and realizing everything is a reflection. Anyways, the key is, do we complain and blame the reflection like blaming the mirror? Not realizing that when we point at the mirror, Guess who's pointing right back at you? Your reflection. Because that is the one who really has the power. It's you. You see, sometimes we want to be right about reality. You see things are unfair? Do you see that I'm the victim? Do you see I blame you because I blame parents? This is all normally comes back down to the triad of mother, father, child. And you can heal it in the present moment now. You can forgive in the present moment now. That's the first relationships that we have are with our first caregivers. And if we're recreating those dynamics over and over again, many times subconsciously. Well, you can learn how to transform it from the inside out to really change your life by taking responsibility. You can use the power of Ho'oponopono. I have a whole video on Ho'oponopono, how it changed my life. I go more to the science of it, of what Dr. Hugh Len talks about. If you want a video that'll change your life, and at the end of that video, you'll see a meditation for this you can just listen to it for 15 minutes a day. Watch how it changes your energy field. So if you want to check out my Ho'oponopono video, check it out right here. By far, the most powerful healing modality I've ever found